Okay, so here's a new project that I'm going to do. It's called an acoustic diffuser. So an acoustic diffuser diffuses the sound in a room so that it makes the reverberations of the sound on the walls much more natural. That means that you get a nicer sound. The room sounds bigger, a bit bigger, and it sounds fuller with less distortions caused by the early reflections. Anyway, so this is a very fun project. I actually can buy a sound diffuser for pretty cheap, either in stores, with people that make them. But I decided to build my own because it's a very fun project to do. So here I am. I went to the store and I chose the best looking birch wood that I could find. And I'm going to show it to you in a while. And I did quite a bit of work planning the whole project. I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and the truth is, all these videos that I watched, I see that people don't make these things in a smart way. I don't want to target anybody, but honestly, many of these people wasted so much time like cutting these pieces one by one, sanding them one by one, putting a varnish on them one by one. This is ridiculous. We got hands, but we also got a head, and we're gonna try and use it. So the first thing I did is that I took all these blocks, put them all on the same side, and I marked them with each side, meaning that each block has side 1, side 2, 3, 4. This is going to make it much easier to sand and to varnish the blocks and everything. So before I cut anything, I'm going to put them all together, or maybe in 2 or 3 groups, and sand them all together on all 4 sides. So first of all, you want to work on a clean surface. So it doesn't take much, just a little rug. This is going to make the whole project much nicer. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is take all the pieces you can, depending on the kind of clamps you have, and put them all together on a flat surface, just like I did. Make sure you got the same side of each piece of wood on top. So for example, I marked my sides like 1, 2, 3, 4. So right now, all the sides you see here on top are side number 1, and then I'll turn them all. As you can see, I put another clamp on this side and a clamp on this side so that it's all tight. It's gonna let me sand all of it at once instead of sanding each little piece of wood separately. This is ridiculous. This is a major time saver as compared to everything else I saw on the internet. All these pieces of wood sometimes are not completely flat. So like for example, you see this one, actually, you can press it down and it's just a bit warped. So no big worries, because you're not going to remove any material from your sanding. You're just going to make it a little smoother. So I am using 150 grit sanding paper. They told me 120 is enough. Some people say 180. I'll go midway, 150. Don't forget to use a mask. You don't want to swallow too much of that wood dust. I'm using a rotary sander, and there we go. Not good. Sandpaper flew away. Not good. All right, take 2. So actually I have 13 pieces of wood at once. So since I need 27 pieces, it's going to take me just about 2 runs to finish sanding all the pieces. It's a very light sanding, so you're not going to waste too much time on this. The fact that some pieces of wood are warped is preventing the sander from going smoothly from one piece to another. It's causing some marking of the wood. A bit of a problem, but I mean, it's pretty nice anyway. So I'm not going to change the whole technique because of that. I'm going to do side 2. So for side 2, I'm going to just open my clamps, turn each piece of wood like 90 degrees, and do it again. All right, side 2. So you get the picture. So we got to do this on all 4 sides. When it hits on the side, it's probably damaging some part of it that I can't see right now, but I will eventually see. Anyway, don't do these sides for now. Here's a little suggestion when you have to sand a few pieces like this and you want to just make sure that you have sanded everything. Take a pen and very lightly mark all these pieces so that basically you will have to sand until you see no more pencil mark. Good little trick, gonna help quite a bit. Once you finish sanding, a little bit of shop vac to remove the dust for a cleaner job through the rest of the project. The next step is actually varnishing all these pieces. It's not exactly a varnish. What do they call this? Oil of natural origin. This is what it is. They're not really colors. There's no stain in it. But what they say is that it still colors a bit the wood just because of the color of the oil itself. So I took two different kinds just because I want some kind of a variation in the tone of the wood. One of them is called natural, which will be exactly a natural, what it says, like a natural color of the wood. And the other one says bianchi, which means a kind of a whitener. So it's going to lower the tone of the wood itself, so it's going to be a little lighter and create like a variation in the tone of the wood. So I split the pieces of wood in two groups, which I separated here with a little bit of tape. One group is going to be the natural oil and the other one will have the bianchi oil. Each one of those pieces has been marked. This group will be N, which means natural, and this group will be B, meaning bianchi. And now I'm going to put these on the table, clamp them together, and apply the oil all at once in all the pieces together. So basically what I'm doing now, I'm taking all my pieces of wood from the natural group and I'm putting them all on the same side, with side one on top to begin. So they're all in the same direction, have already been sanded. I'm going to clamp them in the same way that I did before. So I like to put these little things between the clamp and the real wood just to protect them, because these clamps are pretty rough. So I want to make sure that they don't ruin my surface. There we go. It's pretty rough. Sometimes by touching the wood you can feel that some parts of the wood are not sanded enough. So you can grab a piece of sanding paper and do it by hand just to complete the job. Because as you know, when I was sanding all of this, some pieces were not leveled, and so the orbital sander couldn't reach some of the wood. You will always get some parts that are not properly sanded. Not that it makes a big difference, because most of these pieces will be barely visible. Keep in mind that the most visible part of all this wood will be this, the slice. Before you start anything, if you want to have a good result, take that wet rag and just pass it on the wood just to get rid of any remnants of sanding. I will do this on all four sides of the wood. Okay, so we're now ready to proceed. Make sure you have everything you need with you before you even start. Oil, screwdriver just to open the thing, a brush, the width of which is going to be roughly the same as one piece of wood. This one is like 1.25 inches and this is 1.5 inches. A clean rag to wipe the excess right after you apply. Wet rag. Make sure you have no ventilation or anything that produces dust. What else? Yeah, I put a little piece of wood just underneath these woods, right underneath here, just to keep them higher than the board that is supporting them. And that's it. We're ready to start. So this is a very, very small container, but apparently it covers 55 square feet, which is about the surface that I have to cover. So there we go. We start. We'll try to make it always in the same direction, always making sure that the oil penetrates properly, completely in the wood. I can tell you it already looks beautiful. It just makes it look wet. Gives it a little amber tone that I love. I gotta make sure that I remove all excess. Try to apply as quickly as you can, but still doing it properly just to make sure it really penetrates the wood. I'm doing 2 at a time, but since they're all together, it's much easier to do the job than what I saw on the internet with people cutting the wood first and then applying the finish on every tiny little piece. It's a waste of time, a waste of energy, probably a waste of product too. It only takes one coat, they say. This is the first time I use this product. It has been suggested to me by the salesman, so I don't really know what it's worth, but from what I can see right now, it looks very nice. So I finished the first coat on the first side and I skipped the wiping with a cloth because, very simple, there was nothing to wipe, and I left the whole thing as it was and I flipped it over so that now I don't have side 2, I have side 3 here. I didn't even have to undo the whole setup. I just flipped it over as one big piece. So now I'm going to apply on side 3 in the same exact manner and then let it dry a little more. The way I apply it is trying not to leave any excess so that I don't have to wipe anything. I have to say this oil is really easy to apply. It's not very smelly. There is a bit of smell, but really nothing to complain about. Always very important to make it penetrate while applying, because your best chance making it penetrate is while it's still very liquid. So we can see the final result of the natural color finish once it has dried and cured for 24 hours. It's a little honeyish, but it's very nice, I must say. I'm pretty satisfied with this. It's like borderline too orange tinted, but nevertheless very nice. Here you can see clearly the difference between the finished wood and the unfinished wood. This one is completely raw, nothing on it, and this one has one coat of finish. So we can see the difference. Now I'm gonna do those with the Bianchi stain. So the setup looks good. These are the new pieces of wood that need to be varnished with the Bianchi color. I'm taking a new brush just to make sure that I don't mix varnishes. So here we go. Oh, this is white. This is white. My God. All right, I'm gonna start doing just one for now. See what happens. Yeah, it makes it just a bit whiter, which is not bad. So let's do it all. I'm actually taking a risk on high quality wood that was pretty expensive. I bought this wood at a woodworking store. These were on sale for $9.90 in Canadian money, each length of 48 inches. That was basically a 15% discount. Plus the wood was really nice, so I took it. It's making it a bit too whitish to my taste, but actually, now that I have nothing to say, I would love to know what you think of the colors. If you can leave a comment and just tell me what you think about the color itself, each one of the colors, and the wood also. I think it's gorgeous, but you know, I mean, is it worth the extra spending or not as compared to just pine? I think it's worth it. I mean, this is not a project you're gonna do over and over. You're gonna do it once, and it's probably something you're gonna keep for the rest of your studio life. So might as well put maybe $100 or $150 more to get a real nice wood and a real nice finish. I think it's 100% worth it. Of course, if you can afford the extra money. For those who think they can get away with such a project and do it for $50, you're honestly mistaken, because if you need to buy wood, even if you just need to buy pine, it's gonna cost you much more than that. I went to see the 2x4s and the 2x2s, and honestly, when I saw the quality of the wood and the finish that I would get from that, I said to myself, nah, I'd rather put in a few more bucks and get something real nice. It's really making it white, like bleached. It's absorbing much more stain than the previous coat I did on the others. So please let me know what you think. Do comment and do subscribe too. If you like this video and if you like the content I'm proposing you guys, please help and just click on this subscribe button. It's gonna help me quite a bit. And it's also gonna be good for my feelings. I'm gonna feel like I'm appreciated. I'm a good guy. People like me. Here's side 3. So I actually decided to pass a rag with this color because I was afraid it was going to be a little too white, and actually I was happy with the way it turned out. So I'm going to do it right in front of you. So this is what it looks like after the coat, but before the rag. There's not much excess, but the rag somehow makes it look a little shinier, which I do like. So for this I'm doing one at a time because it's also leaving a little more time for the last pieces to dry. See, it just wipes out a bit of the white color, and it's very, very nice. In the same time, doing so makes it penetrate the wood a bit better. It removes some, but it makes it also penetrate. And that's why you end up with that shinier look. See, the more I get towards the end, the more it's still not dry. So I'm going to be gentler getting to these last three here. I don't want to remove everything. It kind of spreads it a little better. I can see it with the reflection of the light. This product actually dries very fast. All right. So I need to undo this whole thing. I'm a loner, but you guys, if you can get somebody to help you do this whole project, please get that buddy of yours. It's quite something doing this by yourself. Okay, so we're gonna turn all these pieces the other way around. So this was side 3, so I'm gonna go back to side 2 now. Some of the white stuff has leaked on the sides, so apparently it doesn't matter. But I'm still gonna wipe it just to make sure. If you want to be able to flip this whole thing all together in one piece, it's very important that you tighten these clamps as much as you can. Otherwise, it's all gonna get demolished once you lift it up. And also put them on the same side, which means this side on the same side as the other one, so that you're going to be able to flip it. All right, ready? Go! So since I'm getting used to it, I'm doing 3 by 3 now. Now I'm going to flip it over. So the way to do this is that you got to lift just like this, put it on the clamp itself, and then move all together the clamp right here, just like this, and then let it fall back. Always make sure you're well adjusted before you proceed to anything, because if this thing falls, it's bad news. Wet rag to get rid of the sanding dust, just a bit humid, and also it opens the pores of the wood. This is the last side that we have to varnish. So remember, I'm putting the varnish before I even cut the pieces, and the reason for that is that the pieces are going to be cut like this with a miter saw, so it's not going to affect the varnish. And I'd rather put the varnish on first, then cut, because it gives me the opportunity of putting the varnish all at once instead of cutting each little piece and starting to put a varnish on each one of them. Ridiculous! Okay, so at this point, all the wood has been varnished, sitting there. So now it's time to work on our board. The board is 30 by 60 inches. My piece is going to be 30 by 45. So I'm going to have an excess in the width, which I'm going to keep for now, because this excess is going to help me to clamp the board to the workbench so that it doesn't warp during the gluing process. So I'm gonna leave 6 inches on this side, and I'm gonna draw a line, which is gonna be the line where the gluing is gonna start, and wherever it stops will be it. So 6 inches here. I obviously have more than 6 inches on each side available. So all this part is going to be cut at the end, and there's another part being cut at the end on this side too. I could measure 60 right away, but chances are it's not going to be exact, so I'd rather glue first and see what's left after. It's time to make the cleat. Using this router to make a 3/8 groove into this piece of wood that is going to be the cleat. To make that 45-degree angle here for the cleat to hold onto the wall part, I'm going to use a saw on which I put a 45-degree angle and only 3/8 of an inch out of the blade. So now it's time to cut the wood. First thing you need to do is some math. So you have to know exactly how many pieces of each size you're gonna need. For my project, my board is gonna be 45 inches by 30 inches. It's gonna be made of 1.5 square inch pieces. So what that means is that I'm gonna have 30 rows horizontal and 20 rows vertical. So what I did is I took the basic pattern that is available everywhere on the internet. I printed 6 copies of it and I put them together just to have the exact pattern that I'm gonna do on my particular board. This page here is one pattern, okay? This is what you usually find on the internet. I put them in different directions so that it's distributed randomly. Then I selected randomly 30 rows in that direction and 20 rows in that direction. So I drew a line here and another line here, so all the rest is discarded. And my particular pattern is starting here to the end. Now, I can know exactly how many pieces of each size you need. And then take a spreadsheet and do this. So I have 2 colors, natural and bianchi. I put about half the pieces needed in natural and half in bianchi. I know exactly how many pieces of each size I need. 78, 1 inch, 80 pieces of 2 inches. Now, you calculate how many pieces of each size will fit in 48 inches, which is the size of one piece of wood, including what's lost. For each cut you make, 1/8 of an inch goes into wood dust because the saw blade eats it. So you have to keep that into account. You see, this arrangement will lead to exactly 48 inches, making all those pieces of these sizes. Then you multiply by how many pieces of wood you'll do with that same cutting plan, and you end up with a total here. And then you do the same until you reach the total number of pieces needed. Okay, so there's gonna be 4 pieces of this, 4 other pieces with that split, 5 pieces with that distribution, and 1 piece with that distribution. And all of them total just about 48 inches so that you waste as little wood as possible. Of course, the last piece you're gonna have a leftover. So you do this for both colors until you have no missing pieces anywhere, so you're sure that you have cut everything you need. And once you have this thing, you can start cutting your wood intelligently. You're not gonna cut one piece by one piece without knowing exactly how many you need. You're gonna cut all these 4 pieces together, you know? That's what you're gonna do. So basically you have 8 different ways to cut. This is gonna make it much, much easier than cutting one piece at a time. I'm going to post this spreadsheet on the description so that you can download it if you want. Now let's go to the workshop and put all of this into action. All right, so here's a little setup that will make you smile. Since I don't want to mix all the pieces, I'm gonna throw them all in a little bag. So I prepared 8 different bags that will take all 4 sizes for all 2 colors, which means 8 bags. So here's the setup with a miter saw. So first of all, I set up a guide here that is gonna be exactly at a certain measure, and I'm gonna move it depending on what I need to cut. So it's well fixed here. Make sure it's very well fixed because you don't want that to move, okay? If you can extend those guides, it's gonna help your piece of wood lay real straight on the miter saw. And a good advice is first cut the smallest pieces. Don't start with the 4 inches or the 3 inches. Start with the 1 inches because the 1 inches are much more difficult to hold with a guide than bigger pieces. So take advantage of the piece of wood still being a big piece so that you can cut all your 1 inches first, and then you go ahead with your 2 and then 3 and then 4 inches pieces. Otherwise you're going to be stuck not being able to hold your pieces firmly. So here's my 1 inch. I strongly suggest that you make the measurement with your tape even though you have laser or whatever. first try, so we check the quality of the cut. There is some chipping, and it's probably my fault because of the way I stop the saw, which is not the right way, but eventually you get used to it and you end up doing it the right way. Okay, so let's go on. Now, all we have to do is push it again and do the next batch. It's already much better. That's it. We already have 12 pieces of 1 inch. So now, since we already have the guide for 1 inch here, we're just gonna keep it there and do this set here, which is 4 pieces, and I'm gonna do 13 cuts of 1 inch. So we have just cut 13 times 4 1 inch pieces in no time. All right, so you get the trick. I don't need to show you the whole cutting. Just do the same and you'll save a bunch of time. So here's another good piece of advice. I strongly suggest that you use a good quality blade, a finishing blade. This has been cut with a regular saw blade, 40 teeth, and it just doesn't cut like finishing quality. Once I saw this with the first set of cuts, I decided to replace it with an 80 something teeth, which is a finishing blade, which will yield a much better quality. So please don't make that mistake, because all of this is gonna either not disappear or it's going to take a lot much work to do a good finishing on this. So the rest of the cuts will be done with that good blade, and I'll show you the difference when I do it. Huge difference. Huge. Okay, so they're not perfect, but you can see the difference. Finish. Please admire the wood dust everywhere. Here are all the pieces in their respective bags, all cut precisely. It went very well. Didn't take so much time. Well, not so much considering there's 546 pieces, I think, in this puzzle. Next step, it's going to be a little bit of cleanup, right? So after a much needed cleanup of the whole workshop, the next step is to take that big board where everything is going to be glued, and we're going to sand it. And we're also going to apply some varnish because some spots are going to be empty and are going to be visible, so you want them to be as nice as the rest of it. This is a very light sanding, as you saw. I'm still using the same 150 grit paper than for the rest of it. So next step in this long process, we're going to take each group and put them together on one side on a flat surface to sand one side of the piece, obviously the side that is visible. The other side will be glued. So basically what I'm going to do is choose which side is best suited to be visible, turn them on the right side, and then put them together and sand as one piece. This is the first group I'm doing, so I have to think a little more in terms of how do I proceed with this. Some pieces are nicer than others. I'm putting them on the visible side. Wherever I see traces of the saw, I want that to be not visible. But on some pieces, you have these traces on both sides, so I'm going to choose the best I can. See, like here, burnt on both sides, but I'm trying to use the best side as the visible one. Here, the cutting is not very nice, so I'd rather put this side visible. Some pieces were broken during the cutting, so make sure that the broken side is not visible. So basically, it's a simple process to choose the best possible faces. So here we have a group, 4x4s. Now we're going to keep those together using clamps, some pieces of wood just to keep the pieces together. So let's try sanding that. It looks like I'm gonna have to use more grain on my paper because the brown doesn't even go away with 150. Maybe an 80 grit or something. That's much better. Okay, once I've done that, I'm gonna put them on the other side and I'm gonna mark them with an X just to show that that side is the one that has to be glued. I'm gonna varnish directly on those. So these pieces are 3 inches, choosing the right side. Turn it around. Whoops. Let's put an X on all of those. Okay, people. So sanding is over. It's been long, less than some other people I know. It went very well. I skipped a lot of these moments on video because it would have been so boring. Now it's time to apply the varnish on the slice, the side that is going to be showing. So here are all the parts. The whole project is right here. These are all the ones that should be in the natural color marked N. So these are 4 groups and I lay them down all there to apply the oil on all of them at once. So that's going to be quite a time saver too. It's been already applied on the sides here as we did in the beginning of the video. So now it's only going to be applied on this side. Delicately pass a wet cloth just to remove a bit of the sanding dust, and also it opens the pores of the wood. I don't want to make the wood too wet. The only goal here is to remove the dust as much as possible. Of course, you don't want too much of that. See, working in series like this is much more efficient. I have sanded only the top part and the lower part has not been sanded. So when it comes to time to glue, there might be some touch-up sanding on the corners. That's why it's probably a good idea to have a little sander or just a bit of paper readily available at that time. And that's the time you will check every single piece one by one. So you will have it in your hands to apply the glue that you have no choice. You're going to look at it and make sure all corners are good and that you can just go ahead and glue it. So now we're ready to do the varnish. So this is the natural color. So obviously you want this to be really nicely finished now. Remember to not leave too much excess. And remember, this part of the wood drinks much more varnish because you're hitting the cross side of the grain. So it really gives it a nice color. I'm questioning right now if I should remove the excess with a cloth. I'm not sure I'm going to do this. We'll see. Notice how you have to apply this pretty fast. You can't just stay too long on this because the liquid dries very fast. So you want to make sure you have enough time to apply it nicely before it dries. The color is gorgeous. Obviously, whoever does this knows it's a process of patience. And now we're repeating the exact same process for the lighter shade, the Bianchi pieces. We'll mix it a bit. It's something that you want to do because you enjoy working with wood and you enjoy handiwork. This is not something that you want to get it over with. It's halfway between carpentry and art. But I must say, I'm like 3/4 into the project and I have enjoyed it very much. It's a time where you're completely focused on what you're doing. You're in peace with yourself. Hopefully nobody bothers you. And yes, you're thinking about your piece, but you're also thinking about little things in your life, whatever your situation may be. So it's a time to be really with yourself, and it's very enjoyable. Okay, so here I am back in the workshop and I'm very disappointed. After spending so much time wiping all these little wood cubes one by one to clean the excess varnish, I'm very dissatisfied with the result. I just don't like the color at all. Here it is. You can see for yourself. It's really not what I expected, and it's really not what I wanted to see. It's just too white. It looks like it has been painted. It's ugly with a capital A. It's ugly and a half, and there's no way this is gonna stay like this. I tried to sand a couple of these pieces to see what the result would be, and it's definitely looking much better. Like these three pieces, it looks much better than all this white shit there. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to spend some more time to resand all the white pieces. I'm not going to do the others because the others are absolutely gorgeous, exactly what I wanted, but this is not at all what I want. So back to sanding. So my paint is almost over. Here are the white pieces that have been sanded once again to remove the white stain, and now it looks good. There's a lot of light here, so it's difficult to really see the shade, but it's pretty nice. The white has not disappeared completely, but it's okay. So now is a good time to put all these things back in bags, but I'm gonna mix the white and the natural color just to do a random mix. Don't put all the pieces together. Put all the pieces of the same dimensions. So for example, these are the 1 inches. So you put all the 1 inches of both colors in the same bag. So now instead of having 8 bags altogether, you're gonna have 4 bags. Hey! So here are all my bags with all the wood. I want to weigh how much is all this going to weigh on my wall before I get myself into that kind of adventure. So I'm going to weigh each bag and then make a total. So the total weight of this thing is 96 pounds. That's including all the pieces of wood and the board. So for sure it's going to have to go on the studs, but I'm wondering about that cleat thing. Not sure if it's gonna hold up to 100 pounds. Anyway, something to think about. So we're now ready to start the gluing. So this is the final step of this whole thing. I have set up the board on a little table. It's going to be much more practical than working on the bench there, and I'm going to have access all around. I also applied oil on some spots on the board where there won't be any piece of wood glued on it. So we're going to see the surface directly. Now, when comes the time to glue this, make sure you fix very well your board on a flat table or on a flat bench, because once you're going to start gluing, the glue is going to start warping the board, and that's going to ruin the whole project completely. A couple of clamps on each side does the job perfectly, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. That's it. This thing won't move. This is done to keep the first row straight, and I should do the same here, but I'm not going to do it the same way. Just a piece of wood with a little clamp will do. Alright, so we are basically ready to start gluing. I've got my board fixed with a border here, another border here. This is going to be used as a guide. I have my pattern, I have my 1 inch, 2, 3, 4 inches. I got my glue, got my glasses, I got a sander here just in case some pieces need to be sanded again, and basically that's it. Since I have to cut the board after I glue everything, I'm not going to glue the first row on each side, so that I'll have room to cut when the time comes to cut. Alright, so what does my pattern say? 2. So important, remember the X. The X is the side that is going to be glued. The other side is the side that is visible. So like the first is going to be number 2. Then I got a 0, then I got a 3. So I'm taking them from the bag randomly. So instead of putting a 0 here to really account for it, I'm going to use a leftover that is taking the exact same space as that 0, right? Then I have 2, 4, 2. Always making sure that the X is not showing. The 4. So all of these are not going to be glued. 2, 1, 0, 2, 1, 0. I'll pick another leftover, and that's going to be enough for now. Now I'm going to go over here, and now I'm going to glue all the pieces together. So now I'm starting second row here with the 3. Of course, the first pieces are going to take a little more time because we need to get used to and make a system of our own. Whenever a piece is done, I'll circle it. And now, instead of having always one piece at a time, this is going to take forever, I will have all my pieces ready here. It's going to be much easier. Make sure you put enough glue. Make sure you don't have too much excess of glue. So what is very, very important for the first row is to make sure you have a really, really straight line. It would probably be even smarter to put the glue on the board itself instead of gluing the pieces. No, because whatever glue you put in excess might already be dry when you will get to that point, and you're gonna have to deal with dry glue, which creates the thickness and prevents the piece of wood from sticking straight on the board. If you have any discrepancy in the way they fit, try to turn it around so that you get the best possible fit to the next piece of wood. Don't hesitate to sand a bit if you need to, because you want to have those borders as neat as could be. So as you can see, this is pretty advanced. Apply a little pressure for a few seconds just for the glue to, of course, there shouldn't be any force exerted on any of these pieces. It should not be pushed by any other piece normally. Sometimes there is, but if there is too much force, that's what tells you that something is wrong. Here's another row. So remember, the first one, I'm not gluing it. I'm just putting it in right here with no glue. So let's do the shaving. It's easier to do a few at a time in the beginning, but once you get more advanced in the project, it's a little harder because imprecision has invaded the whole project. And then, I mean, for each piece, there's some kind of tweaking to do, most likely. For example, you see this one went very well. I mean, nothing to do, it's just perfect. But many times, you just have to take your time and make sure you make a clean junction for every single piece. Because remember, the tiniest imprecision will multiply itself as you go along. So it's important to fix it right away. Don't let it get transmitted to the rest of the parts. It's a game of patience, but it's a game that pays. Perfect. If I look like I've done this all my life, you're wrong. This is actually the very first time I do this kind of thing, and it's so satisfying. It's a lot of fun. Ay, 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 ay. Missing a whole 1/4 inch here. Basically, in the last row, the little cubes are gonna be a 1/4 inch in the air because the board is just a 1/4 inch too short, even though it doesn't look like we're wasting any space. They're really tightly against one another, so there's no waste of space. But at the end of the day, you end up missing a 1/4 inch. As you can see, the last cube here is like a 1/4 inch longer than the board. The wood board was exactly 30 inches. We're missing a 1/4 inch here, and that's because these cubes are probably just a tiny bit more than 1.5 inch, and that little tiny bit more after 20 rows adds up to a 1/4 inch. And that was totally unexpected. Now, how am I gonna take care of this? One solution would have been to just cut the board after only 19 rows. Cut it here and forget about the last row. But instead, I'm gonna add a 1/4 inch piece of wood underneath here that I'm gonna just glue here, and it's gonna show just flush with the rest of the cubes. So we won't see that the board is shorter. It won't be anymore. I need to cut the board exactly where I need it to finish, and then I'm gonna have to glue the last rows. Remember, the first row here has been put in but without any glue, so it's just loose here. So I'm gonna have to cut the board straight before I put the glue on these things. For now, I need to remove the clamps, remove all these borders here. Now we want to cut the board precisely to the width that is needed. We are still missing one row here and one row on the other side. So I drew a line where to cut to leave one cube, and I'm gonna install a guide to make sure my line here is always centered with the pencil line. I'm gonna fix that piece of wood. Just a clamp will be enough. Yeah, I think a clamp is gonna be plenty. Same on the other side. It looks pretty good to me. Beautiful. So let's put a clamp here too. There's something blocking and it's actually moving the saw. You gotta double check. Make sure you don't have any of those things sticking out of the side of your piece of wood, because all of that is gonna make the cut irregular. Put some painter's tape over the cutting line. This actually prevents the wood from tearing down. So I put a ruler here, so all I have to do in principle is follow the track. Cutting time, guys. Here we go. I hate that morning. There's always something going wrong. All right, first step. So now push the board this way. Now,
watch it. Okay.
All right. All right, so now we are giving it a shot. This is do or die kind of thing. Ready, boy? All right, here we go. Bingo! Bing fucking go! One side is done. It went better than I expected after all this preparation. But so now we're giving it a try for the second cut. Ready? Go! And now put it back on its back. And admire the beauty.
I want to take a picture.
A few pieces detached from the whole puzzle during the whole process, and that's normal. Even without doing any of that manipulation, you got to expect a few pieces out of like 600 pieces will detach. No panic there. All you gotta do is re-glue them, and that's it. And of course, remember the first and last rows that we never even bothered to glue. Now is the time to glue them. I still have the same problem here. My cut was a little too short once again. Considering it's the first and last time I do something like this, it's not so bad. I like to test them first, see how they fit. There we go. No, no, yes. I am thinking about putting a frame around all of this because of those imprecisions, should I say, in the cut of the board. It's probably the best way to get rid of this whole problem. I really like the way this whole thing came out. And there we go! This thing is finished! Okay, so for various reasons, I decided not to use the cleat I made on the panel itself. The problem is the most depth I can have on this side here is 3/8. So it would hang only on 3/8, and I don't think it would be enough. I'm just too scared of what could happen with this thing that weighs about 100 pounds. So for that reason, I decided not to use that cleat and use some commercial cleats available on the market that I already have. Something like this that is very, very easy to use and goes really deep inside. And also it's just a 1/4 inch. The board will be a little less than a 1/4 inch from the wall. And it's going to be much simpler. I'm just gonna fix it here after I take the right measurements. These things are good for about 50 to 70 pounds. So I'm gonna use 3 of them, and each one is gonna be on the studs. So there's no way it's gonna go down. And that's it. It's gonna be very simple. So let's go ahead and mark those measurements on the wood panel. So this is the back, and where I'm gonna put the cleats is exactly where the cleats go on the wall, right on top of the studs. It's not just random, it's calculated. Here's the design of what it all should look like. I made this design on SketchUp, a free program, very easy to use. This tells me exactly the height and the position of each cleat as compared to the studs. So these are the stud locations, and you see that the cleats are all going to be right on a stud, and they're going to be screwed right on the studs. So I'm going to now mark each and every hole position where I should drill the holes. .38 and 5/8 right here, and then you got, that's it, 1 2 3 4 5 6 screws on this. Beautiful. Time to drill our holes on the board. So this is a delicate time, because if we go too far, we might just push away the cubes behind. So I put a maximum level here, which intentionally goes like, I don't know, 1 millimeter beyond the wood. So it is actually going to touch the cube, but very slightly. hopefully it's all good. We'll see if these cubes in the front, if these cubes have been detached, but I do not think so. I think this is going to be more than enough. As far as strength, it's extremely solid. Okay, so back in the studio, we did some pre-drilling here. First of all, I located all the studs, okay? Those were located not with a stud stancer, but with some videos that I had from when I did my renovations. I like to make some videos just to get a reference of where things are underneath the walls. So that helped me to trace my studs. So then I calculated my my horizontal line. This is the center line. From there I pre-drilled my holes just with a smaller caliber, and so these are going to be the 3 cleats that are going to hold the whole thing. Now let's go for the real drilling and the real holes. Now what is important to remember in this wall is that since it was meant to be a studio, there is some sonopan underneath this gyprock. So this is a 1/2 inch gyprock, or maybe it's 5/8, I'm not sure. And then there's some resilient bars, and then there's a sonopan which is 3/4 inch, and then there's the wood. So it's pretty deep before you reach some wood here. I figured I would need at least 1 inch inside of the wood for the screw to hold really well for that kind of weight. At the end of the day, the screws I'm going to use for this are going to be 3 inches in order to reach some wood. Actually, even pre-drilling my holes, I haven't even been able to get to the wood. So I'm going to have to use things like these, which are 3 inches, 12 caliber, to get into that thing and hold it tight. Before we tighten these screws, we have to level it all up just to make sure that everything is under the same level. So basically we had some little gap in the measurements. It happens. So I had to put this one in on a little angle in order to join the stud that is a little bit more towards the left than I calculated it. Here, instead of doing that, I just made another hole in the metal to go straight, because this one wouldn't go. And this one, I put a screw here, but I also put it in an angle to join the stud that is a little more to the right than I thought. It's all good. Now I have to put everything to level and tighten all these things. This one is perfect together with this one. This one is about 1/16 lower than the other two, and that was the best I could do. And as a matter of fact, it's not even gonna make the difference. And this whole thing is completely straight. If you can see the bubble, there you go. So I think it's very, very satisfactory considering everything. We are now ready to install the beast. Yeah! Le problème, c'est qu'on peut pas appuyer sur rien. Alright, hold on. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, straight in there. Alright. So, let's get the table up. Okay, you got it?
Attention, non, 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 je peux pas, c'est sur mon doigt. Voilà.
Okay. No?
Sophie said, always try the easiest thing first.
No,
go to the
always
harder
try
thing.
the safest things. So you got to think in advance what the problems are going to be. If you don't think in advance, you get caught in a problem without a solution.
Or you get caught over-engineering the hell out of a
No, you
task.
don't over-engineer. You have to engineer safely. That's the way to engineer things, man.
You have to over-engineer.
Ah, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Over engineering. Okay.
Là, j'ai ton problème.
You got it?
Yeah. Attends. Vas-y. It's gonna be heavy, mais il faut te mettre la main plate.
Ah, je sais, mais là, je mets mes genoux.
Okay, et là, essai erreur, right? Ah, I have mine. C'est le tien qui est rentré?
I would think so.
Le mien, il est...
Je sais pas. Not sure.
Je peux rien voir.
Not sure.
Non,
Le tien, il est quoi?
je peux pas voir, mais je le
À
sens.
combien de distance il est du mur?
Comment tu veux que je vois?
Non, le frame ici.
Quoi?
Est-ce qu'il
Ça?
est ici? Il est ah, il est pas dedans.
Non, parce qu'il y a... mais non, parce qu'il est bloqué. Tu as ajouté des feutres là, des...
Non, mais en haut, en
Donc,
haut.
tu veux réessayer? Tu veux le
Quel est-
relever?
Lève ton côté. Le mien, je crois qu'il est dedans.
Ah, there we go.
À
Il est rentré, il est rentré.
Quelle distance?
Regarde, je tiens plus.
Là, oui. Là, oui.
So
Là, oui.
that's it?
I would think so.
Regarde.
Attends. Hold on. Hang on. Ah.
I want to hear that I was right. That's it.
Ouais.
Yeah, man,
Okay.
this is really nice.
Wow. If that is it, it was much easier than I thought. I can't
Mais
see.
s'il tient, ça veut dire qu'il est dedans, pape. Il tiendrait pas.
I would hope so.
Comment tu veux qu'il tienne sans être dedans?
Il peut être dessus, sans être dedans.
Mais non. S'il était dessus, regarde, je fais le test tout de suite. S'il était dessus, en poussant, it would move back.
Yeah, no. It is inside because it's the only way that we get only 2 millimeters of space.
Exactement.
Wow.
There you go. Finished.
Let me see. Wow.
Nice.
Huh? It's nice, huh? Oh my God.
That's really nice.
So now we are checking the level of this thing. Look, I mean, it's not perfect, but who would say, huh? Now we have to check the distance between here and there. Visually, it looks fine, but I'll have to measure it and make sure it's perfect. But for now, that's it. Oh yeah. This is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
D'ici, ça fait une belle photo.
Ouais. Beautiful.
It's very nice. Ça va?
So guys, whoever tells you that you can do this in one afternoon is really full of shit. And whoever tells you that you can do this with some scrap wood or like 2x4s or things like that is also half full of shit, because to have such a result, honestly, you need good quality wood, you need good varnish, and you need a lot of time and patience. All these cubes have been put together one by one, chosen also one by one, their position, and really even doing it in a smart way and cutting the wood in bulk numbers. It takes at least a week to 10 days in order to finish something like this. And then it takes a good helper to put it on the wall. So it was much easier than I expected, but I can't be happier. So here it is. I hope everybody likes this. I love it. And thanks for watching.